Hi, and welcome to our session on learning how to complete the 2627 FAFSA. We're excited to have you join us as you learn how to complete the application for financial aid. Today, we're going to talk about the steps to completing the FAFSA. We'll also look at the sections of the FAFSA and how to complete the FAFSA. In that completion part, we're going to walk through the actual application so you can see how it's done. To complete the FAFSA, you're going to start your application by creating an account. If you haven't created an account yet, no worries. You'll be able to create one before you complete the application. To create an account, you're going to need your own email address, not the email address that you have at your high school, because you're going to lose access to that after you graduate. You're going to need to create an email address that you'll check on a regular basis that won't make an admissions officer blush. You will also need your own account for this, so it can't be a shared account. Then you're going to, once you create an account, start the 2627 FAFSA. I know that sounds super futuristic, but seniors, this is when you're going to be in college or career school. In the application, you're going to have to provide consent and approval to import your information directly from the IRS into the application. We'll talk more about that when we walk through it. Then you're going to complete your personal circumstances section and the demographics section. You'll also have some financial information that you're going to need to add to the application. The fun part comes next, where you get to list up to 20 schools to have this information sent to. So you're going to list any school that you're interested in. Then, if you're considered dependent, which most students are, and we'll talk more about this in the walkthrough, you're going to invite your parent or guardian to fill out the form in their portion. Then you're going to sign your 2627 application and have your contributors complete their portions if applicable. And then you're all done and ready to go. So this is just a little bit of overview of those sections again. There's personal circumstances, demographics, the financials, the schools that you're going to list, inviting a contributor if applicable, and signing your application. So let's walk through the actual application. So this is the landing page, and you can access it by going to https://FAFSA.gov. This is going to be the government page and the landing page for the application. Now I'm going to go ahead and share a walkthrough. This is a demo of the actual application that you're going to see. So this is not an actual student, but this is just a demo account. So as you can see here with the login, the student's going to go ahead and you're just going to log in. Then when you get to this page, you're going to start a new application. This is where you're going to enter in your role. So students, you're going to select here. Parents, if you're watching this video because you're trying to figure out how to do your portion, no worries. We also have parent and caregiver financial aid nights, and parents, you will select the parent option. Parents, if you've received an invitation code, you can just enter it in right over here. But for this example, we're just going to walk through as a student. So students, just click on student and click continue. Then it's going to show you the information that you entered into your FSA ID, also known as your studentaid.gov account. If any of the information in the top section is incorrect, you can go into your account settings and you can update that information. Anything in this bottom section here, including your mailing address, this information here, you can update right in the application. Then you're going to list your state of residence. So for us, we're Washingtonians. We're going to go ahead and put Washington on here. And then it's going to ask you which month and which year did you become a legal resident of Washington. And typically it takes a year to become a Washingtonian. So if you were born here, then you're just going to put your month and year of your birth. And then for anyone who's moved here, I would put your date that you've moved in. And that's to determine if you're a Washingtonian and if you're eligible for Washington state aid. The next section is to provide that consent and approval. So this is that section that's going to ask you to import your information directly from the IRS. Even if you haven't filed taxes, you still have to provide consent in order to be eligible for aid. So this will talk more about that process, what they're importing in, and what you're consenting to. So you'll go ahead and read through, and then If you click decline, it will not allow you to continue. But if you click approve, it's going to continue to the next page. This is where it's going to import any information that the IRS has on you that's pertinent to this application. And that includes letters of non-filing. So if you didn't file taxes, it's also going to import that information. So here it shows you, hey, we've collected your stuff from the IRS and it's been added to your application. You're going to continue on to the next section, which is personal circumstances. This is going to ask some questions that will determine your eligibility to receive aid. In this section, it's going to ask if you're currently married. So this is not going to be like your relationship status, but this will be like if you have put a ring on it and married it. So you have to be married to select married. Most students are going to be single and not married, even though we know you might not be single as in like dating single. So you're going to go ahead and pick that marital status and move to the next page where it's going to ask you about your college or career school plans. Most students will be starting as a freshman. And then it's going to ask, when you begin the 26-27 school year, have you already had your first bachelor's degree? Most of you, almost all of you, will not have a bachelor's degree yet. Some will have associate's degrees and you're working right towards your bachelor's. So you're going to select no on this question. Then it's going to ask you about your personal circumstances. Some of these questions may be very private, and we want to make sure for this section here, if any of these components apply to you, that you check the box. I encourage you to read slowly through all of this to ensure that you are not included in any of the personal circumstances. So, for example, if you have been in foster care anytime after the age of 13, you're going to be considered independent on the financial aid application, and you won't need any parent information in this process. Same if you, anytime since you turned 13, were either an orphan or a ward of the court, or if you've been legally emancipated by a court in Washington or court of your residence. Same thing happens if you are in a legal guardianship as defined by a Washington court with someone other than your parent or your step parent. You would be considered independent for financial aid purposes. So if any of these apply to you, then you'll click those circumstances. If not, you're going to click none of these apply. Then it's going to ask you if you are at risk for being homelessness or if you are currently homeless. So if you're self-supporting and at risk for homelessness or if you're experiencing homelessness. If that is the case, I also encourage you to be assessed for McKinney-Vento to see if there's additional supports to help you as you navigate high school. For this circumstance, I'm going to select no. If you select yes, it's going to consider you independent for financial aid purposes. Then it's going to ask if you have any other circumstances that would prevent you to provide parent information. Students, if providing parent information puts you at risk in any way, shape, or form, you're going to say yes to this question. So if there's any abuse in the house, if there's any abuse, any circumstances where you think it's not safe to either contact your parents or to get this information, select yes. If not, you're going to select no. And in this process, I'm going to select no. If you select yes, you're going to be considered conditionally independent, and they will be able to meet with you to talk to you about your circumstances to assess how they can best support you. And here we're going to go ahead and select no just for this circumstance so we can go through the application as a dependent student. And here it's going to say you're a dependent student. And because of the answers that you listed on the application, you're going to need to provide parent information. If you answered any of those other questions as yes, it's going to say that you're an independent student in this section, and it's not going to require parent information. It's also going to ask if your parents are refusing to provide information on the form. If your parents are refusing to fill out the application and provide their information, then you may be eligible for unsubsidized loans. But if they are willing to put information on the application, then you may be eligible for more funds. So for this circumstance, we're going to select no. And then it's going to ask you about some student demographics. These, again, can be a little bit more private questions, and there are some options for you to opt out as well. It's going to ask the student sex. And then it's going to move to race and ethnicity. So you're going to go through here and you're going to either select prefer not to answer, or you're going to select what reflects your identity. Then it's going to ask about student citizenship status. If you're a U.S. citizen or a national, you're going to check this box. If you're an eligible non-citizen, which means you're from freely associated states like Marshall Islands, have certain refugee or asylee statuses, or a permanent resident, you'll select here. If you're neither, you're going to select here. For this example, I'm going to pick U.S. citizen. The next question it's going to ask is a parent education status. This is going to trigger TRIO services, which support first generation students who are attending college. If you don't know, you can list on here, but also if you don't know, you can select I don't know. It's also going to ask if you've experienced the loss of a parent due to being killed in the line of duty. For these students, there's additional funds to support you. Then it's going to ask your high school completion status. So it's going to ask at the beginning of next year, what is your status going to be? Now it's going to ask you about your high school. So all you have to do is enter in your state and your city, and you'll be able to search your schools. For this example here, I do notice that it's going to give us a bunch of schools that you may not notice from Washington State because this is a demo tool. So for this example, we are just going to select a random high school. Let's say we're in Clarkston's North Senior High. Oh, it's going to want one from Washington. If you don't see your school, you can always list one manually. So we can go back in here and go to Washington, and you can list the state or the city and put your high school in. Now that you've added it in there, you'll click continue. Now it's going to start asking questions about your finances. It's going to ask you about your 2024 tax return. If you did not file a tax return, you're just going to put zeros in these sections. It's going to ask you about college grants and scholarships and AmeriCorps. This would be if you've attended college previous years and you received amounts above the cost of attendance. And so for these, you may most likely be entering zero as well. And this is going to ask if you earned any foreign income. These are questions about you as an individual, not your family. Then it's going to ask you about your total cash checking and savings. So how much you have as an individual, not your parents' money. If you own real estate, not the house, like if your family owns a house that they live in, you're not going to list that. But if you as an individual human have your own real estate in your name, you're going to list the value of that here. And then you as a student, if you have a business with more than 100 employees, you will list that here too. Again, that's students if you own all these things in your name. You have to put zeros in. It can't be blank. So you're going to go ahead and put those zeros in if that's the case. And now you're going to go ahead and you're going to select your schools. So in school selection, you're just going to go ahead and either search by school name and code or by location. So we'll go ahead and start putting in some Washington schools because we know we're going to stay in Washington State. And here we have, of course, they're not going to be actual schools listed in Washington because it's a demo tool, but we're going to go ahead and list a couple schools. Maybe we want to go to Brown and Columbia, and let's put some Dartmouth in there, Duke as well. So you list all your schools up to 20, and then you're going to click continue. For these schools, it's going to list a little bit of information, and you can actually view that information on here. It's going to tell you about the cost of the school and a little more information about their graduation rates. You'll review all your schools, and once you have all the ones you want listed, and you don't even have to be applied to them yet, you can list any of the schools in here, you're going to click continue. Now it's your time to invite your parent as a contributor. So if you're a dependent student, this is an extra step, and if you're independent, you won't have to do this. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to determine who your parent is. And on here, if you're not sure, you're going to select this, and it's going to take you through a walkthrough of determining who your parent is based upon their marital status. So if your parents are married and they filed taxes together, only one parent's going to have to provide information. If your parents are divorced, whoever's providing you with the most financial support is going to complete this process. If your parents are divorced but living together, both are going to provide information. And so this will walk you through that. And then you're going to put an email address in here. Once you put the parent email address in, you're going to send them an invite. And of course, because it's a demo tool, it's not going to allow me to put in an email address. So you'll put in your parent's email address. Um, and then if you have any problems, you can also get a code for it as well. And of course, it's not letting us put those ones in. I apologize because this is part of a demo tool. So here we go. You'll see it's going to send to that address. You're going to send invite. So it shows here other ways to send the invite. You can actually copy this code here and send it to your parent as well if they're not checking their email. Then you're going to click continue. You're now to the end of the application. You're going to review all the sections and you can expand all these to see all of the information that you've entered. So it has your permanent mailing address, your status, everything on here. So you're going to review all this to see that it's correct. You can also update anything that you forgot to add in. So if there's more schools, or maybe you need to change which parent you're sending the information to. Now you're going to go ahead and look at the terms and conditions. You have to click on it and then click done before you can sign your application. So you've gone through everything, you've viewed the terms and conditions, and your next step is to click here and sign your section. Once you're done with this section, it's going to tell you that your section is done, but it's waiting for a parent contributor to complete their portion. What'll end up happening is, as soon as your parent's done with their section, it will notify you that your application's complete and that it's being processed by your colleges. Again, your application won't be complete until your parent completes the process. And don't worry, students, there's lots of resources to help you as you navigate completing the application and for your parents as well. So this is the application for the student side. Parents, you will complete your section as well. If you get stuck at all, we have lots of resources on our page at the Washington Student Achievement Council, but we also have events and one-on-one appointments to help you. If you need any support, please remember it's free to apply and there's lots of people here waiting to help you. Thank you so much for walking through the FAFSA with me. If you have any questions, come join us at one of our financial aid nights. We are so excited to make sure that you have access to everything you need to pursue your education after high school.